Thank you so much. I love when I get applause before I even do anything. Well, thank you for being here. Thanks for being at another terrific event highlighting so many of our terrific female students, our alumni, others who have joined us. This is something that I think has great potential to highlight the terrific things going on for females at Villanova University by and large, not just at the business school. A few people that I want to single out for their hard work, including Amina, who just left the stage, is Sarah Choi, who's the president of the Women in Business Student Organization, Marissa D'Ambrosio, the vice president, Natalie Gilmore, marketing chair, Amina is secretary, Meredith Giuliani, public relations chair, Anita Sauter, treasurer, and Annette Paulin, or Palin, I'm not sure. Actually, I apologize, Annette, activities chair. I also wanted to thank some of our sponsors: Bloomberg, Deloitte, EY, Johnson & Johnson, PwC, KPMG, Vanguard, Wells Fargo, and the companies from whom our guests today hail as well. And I also want to single out a couple of our faculty. Mary Kelly, one of our fine faculty here, who's the faculty director of the Women in Business Student Organization, as well as Michelle Galloway from our Clay Center. We started last year corralling and sort of aggregating a number of women-related leadership opportunities, events. This notion of trying to get the most out of, maybe even differentiating Villanova in terms of their support for women students, and for a lifelong relationship with our female alumni and Villanova and each other. And so we launched this past year the Women's Professional Network. And so the Women's Professional Network co-sponsors this. Dr. Cheryl Carlton and Madonna Sutter, the Associate Dean of External Relations, have been instrumental in launching that endeavor. And it's something that I'm excited about because we're also, as part of that, going to be launching a formalized women's mentoring program. We've hired Michelle Gianfarco, one of our fine alumni who now works in the Clay Center, to help promote mentorship and mentorship. We found out, we did a survey in the spring of all VSB alumni and found just a tremendous willingness of our alumni to come back and give to our students through mentorship, as speakers, and really just provide support. And so as I always like to tell people, I think I have the best job in the world, because the desire of Villanovans to help Villanovans is pretty powerful and awe-inspiring, and it certainly played out with our women and our female alumni. I'm very thrilled. I know a couple of our speakers and panelists tonight personally. Adele and I serve, who will be introduced shortly, had served as judges for the EY Entrepreneurship Competition. And so I know firsthand just the level and caliber of her experience, her professionalism, her standing in the field is second to none. She's been recognized in numerous ways in terms of her professional contributions. So we're very lucky to have Adele Oliva with us. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the program over to Sarah, who will introduce our guest speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dean Majidi. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Choi, and I am the president of the Women in Business Society. I first wanted to thank you all again for being here. It means a lot to us, and a lot of preparation went into it. And also, I'm going to share a little about my Women in Business experience before I introduce our keynote speaker. I've been on the board since my freshman year, and throughout my time, I have seen the society grow tremendously. Our society doubled in size, and also I've experienced a lot of personal and professional growth as well. So I really encourage you to be an active member of society and try to get really involved, and also try to get to be part of our executive board, and you can plan the awesome conference as well. And now to introduce our keynote speaker. Adele Oliva joined Quaker Partners in 2007 from Apex Partners, where she co-led its U.S. healthcare group. She received her bachelor's in finance from St. Joseph's University and an MBA in marketing from Cornell University. She's the founding president and exec board member of private equity Women Investor Network. She's also ranked in Forbes' Meet Us List 2012 and named Forbes' top 5 female venture capitalists. And now, can we all welcome Adele to the stage?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Patrick, very much for the kind introduction. It has been a pleasure to work with him and have the opportunity to judge some amazing entrepreneurs in the EY program. And Michelle Holloway, thank you for all the tremendous work and coordination to get this program done with the students. I'm sure it's greatly appreciated. So when Michelle and I were talking about what to do over the next half hour, she asked me to provide a little background on my career and how it evolved, then provide some thoughts and advice to the students on the things that I found over the years that have been helpful to me and the women that I mentor a lot of women and a lot of young men, and the advice I give them is wonderful, hopefully, to help you with what you're doing. And then we'll leave some time for Q&A. And I have to tell you how excited my sister drove up from Maryland tonight with my niece who wants to go to Villanova. So big effort on their part, fighting 95 and 476. So got a little distracted. I'm glad you got here. So it was just literally a blink of an eye that I was a few miles away at St. Joe's and crashing Kelly's Bar and coming up to your neck of the woods, and I can't believe how quickly time has gone by. I really could not have imagined doing this then, and I hope that many of you really drive hard with your careers and hopefully are standing in these shoes, or if it's fall, a pair of boots, and presenting and helping to mentor and move women forward. So I'm going to start with a couple questions, and I'd really ask you to please raise your hand if it applies to you, okay? So how many women here played with dolls? If you could please raise your hand. Growing up, you played with dolls. Great. Wow, that is great to see. How many women played with Legos growing up? Wow, incredible. That is great. And there's a generational shift. I was hoping to see that because you're all, I won't number how many years younger than I am. How many of you played with money growing up? Awesome. I love that. Well, growing up, I didn't play with dolls. I didn't build or play with Legos like my sons. And what I played with was money. And I loved it. Fortunately, my mother also was interested in finance, so she didn't find it odd at the time. But I would love to go to the bank with her. I would bring home the little slips from the bank and play banker alone in the basement for hours. And then all of my jobs going through college were financially oriented. I had the opportunity to work at the U.S. Mint, which is a dream come true for someone that loves money and is interested in it. It was incredible. I worked for security, so I got to all the secure divisions. And I also waitressed in college. And what I loved about waitressing is that you actually got to touch the money, right? I mean, you get a paycheck, you never really touch money. So I would bring home the money and would spread it out on my bedspread. And I would put the 1s, the 5s, the 10s, hopefully a couple 20s, and then all the change. And I'm sure a lot of you do the same. You put it where it all faces the same way, right? You have it very neatly lined up, all the heads going the right way, face forward. How many people alphabetize their money by Federal Reserve District? My son, Adam Oliva. Thank you, Adam. I would alphabetize my money by Federal Reserve District. So, as you can tell, I was someone destined to go into finance. After St. Joe's, I had the opportunity to work for Philadelphia National Bank in a training program. It's now part of Wells Fargo. I always felt like I was meant to work in life. It was something that I always wanted to do. I was much more work-oriented, I'd say, than academically oriented. And this was my chance. I was in an analyst training program, and I was one of the last ones to leave every night. I couldn't get enough from the program and really embraced every opportunity I was given. And while I was there, I had a lot of people take an interest in me, and I think they saw my work ethic and drive, and they answered my questions. They put me on high-profile projects, and a lot of those people I'm in touch with 25 years later, and they've become my best friends. And so I'd encourage you, as you start your jobs and you start looking at things, reach out to people, don't be shy, show them if you're excited, don't hold back, and you'll never know what could evolve from those friendships and the first time you shake someone's hand that they can be with you 25 years later. It's really a tremendous gift. After several years at the bank, I went back to Cornell for my MBA, and it was common at that point to take, I would say, pretty mainstream. I didn't take finance, I took marketing because I wanted to round out my background. But I was attracted to Cornell because it had one of the few entrepreneurship programs in the country. And entrepreneurship was a growing area of interest, but it was still not a big focus area. I was fortunate because I had been in banking and finance undergrad, exempted out of a core class, and was able to take entrepreneurship my first semester. And from there, I became a TA, became the head TA, and got exposure to venture capital, entrepreneurs that took venture capital, and started to get the bug in me to get into this industry. I went to Baxter, and after Baxter, found out about, or while I was at Baxter, a program to get into venture capital called the Kauffman Fellows Program. It was a postgraduate program where you had the opportunity to work 2 years at a venture capital firm. It was a tremendous learning opportunity and something I was very enthusiastic about, and I'll talk later about how that evolved and how I got into the program. And then in '97, I got into venture capital in Silicon Valley in probably one of the most incredible times this country has seen in business. 1997 in Silicon Valley, the internet was taking off. Everyone around us where we lived were entrepreneurs. They were service providers that were supporting the entrepreneurs, or they were venture capitalists providing money to the entrepreneurs. And I'll just take you on a little anecdote of how pervasive this community was. My mother's here as well. You can see the way I filled the room was to ensure I brought as many family members as possible. And my mom, you'll see where our family, my mother and father, both very hard workers. She was 70 at the time. Sorry, Mom, giving away your age a little bit. And she was still working full-time in downtown Philadelphia. She would take the train an hour each way. But to visit me and to get as much time as possible, she would try to maximize her work week and get out there. So one week she was working on a very big project, and she was supposed to fly out Friday morning to come out for a long weekend. And at 70, she pulled an all-nighter. She literally stayed up the entire night, delivered the work 6 a.m., drove to Center City, Philadelphia, delivered the work, and caught the early flight out to San Francisco to come visit us. While she was there, everybody's talking about the startups, everybody's talking about stock options, everyone's talking about these things, and she's really interested because she loves business. She's very interested to hear what our friends are talking about. So I take her to the airport Sunday night, and we're sitting there, and again, she can hear people talking about things, and she turns to me, and she says, "Adele, what are stock options and how can I get some?" I mean, it's just, everybody was making money hand over fist, and it was an incredible time. Well, she took the red eye back that evening and went to work straight the next morning, which is incredible. So I got to see the boom and the bust in Silicon Valley. We moved to Manhattan in 2002, right after 9/11. And then I had the opportunity to see another amazing time in finance, and this time it was the private equity boom. And that was a tremendous opportunity. It was a very heady time in Manhattan. A lot of deals were getting done. A lot of money was being made, although there was a lot of debt also going on the books. I'm sure you watched that cycle very closely and what happened there. So I spent 10 years at Apex. I was promoted very quickly to partner, and by the time I was 39, was co-head of their healthcare group in Manhattan. I had a great team that I worked with that was very supportive, and had the opportunity to work at really one of the largest global private equity firms in the world. They had $30 billion under management when I was with them. But something continued to tug at me, and it was why I went back to Cornell, was to do something more entrepreneurial. So there was a firm in Philadelphia that I talked to for 4 years, and during that time, they were pursuing a strategy that I believed in. And in 2007, I moved back home, which was great, to work with a firm called Quaker Partners. Quaker is a very well-recognized healthcare investment firm in the field of healthcare. We've been noted as one of the top 20 firms in healthcare in the past. And its healthcare industry in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York to North Carolina region is really unmatched compared to any other region in the world. So it's a great place to live, being back home, and also a great place to be in business and doing what I do and working with the great entrepreneurs. So that's my background. I was going to give you a few tips to think about, and I'll go through them. I have, I think 8 tips. Okay, so we'll stay off the David Letterman top 10 list, and we'll keep it to 8. So the first thing I'd really encourage you to think about is building a strong foundation and learning. When you may find this hard to believe, but when I had graduated college, I was looking at 2 jobs, and I actually took the job that paid half as much, exactly half as much, as the other job offer I had. And so I decided to go into a bank training program where I was making $22,500 in 1988 and pass up a $45,000 a year job, which is a pretty big swing when you're that age. It means it's a big difference in what your spending money was going to be and savings. But for me, it was the opportunity to learn. And I had met someone as I was interviewing at different places, and it was a man in his 30s who was looking to try to get into the same job I was. And he just said to me, whatever you do, if you can get into a training program and learn at a young age and build your skills, you're never going to regret it. And this absolute stranger giving me that advice really, I think, partially changed the course of my life. And it was great advice, and I'm so thankful that I ended up doing that. So really think through how you can learn. Then I went into Baxter, into a management training program at a business school. Again, it was fantastic. I had the opportunity to learn. I was working for one of the top people at the company who was mentoring 3 of us through a fast track program. And then in the Kaufman program, getting into venture capital, again, another opportunity. Took a pay cut again, I guess, or took a pay cut that time in order to get into a program that would really give me the training. And I think this is something that people sometimes criticize women because they want too much training, too much education. Are they ready to take the reins? But I would encourage you, that first decade of your life, you just can't learn enough and you can't get enough experience. So if you think about your life, I would encourage you to think through your 20s as really the time to learn. Your 30s are an opportunity to influence, and hopefully you'll start to move into more senior levels. And then by your 40s and 50s, to be in a position to really earn. You want to make sure that you're in a position of leadership. You have the opportunity to save money for retirement, which will come someday. I know you may think it's far away. I'm halfway there now. Can't believe how quickly it's coming. And you want to make sure that you're thinking through. When I interview people, I was interviewing one young man, and I said, where do you want to be when you're 40? And he's like, 40? I was 40 at the time. Don't do that, whatever you do. he just really wasn't thinking through it. But you want to think through how, you don't have to know exactly where you're going to be, but you have to have a concept of where you want to go so that you can start laying the groundwork. Second thing is prepare and have a really strong work ethic. When I'm hiring someone, I'm looking for IQ, intellectual intelligence, EQ, emotional intelligence, and just their overall drive. And I've been surprised how often people aren't prepared for the interview. They haven't done the background work. And preparation will really differentiate you. And I'm just going to give you a story. When I was applying for the Kaufman program, my husband and I had just gotten married in June. It was August and we started the process. And right after you get married, you want to go off for weekends, you want to do all these things. Well, I really want to get into this program. It's very competitive. Hundreds of people apply every year and they only pick 10. And by the way, most of the people who are in the program already went to Stanford and Harvard. And although Cornell's a top business school, it wasn't Stanford and Harvard at the time. And so I really had to work hard. We spent countless hours. It was really before the internet was alive and well and an access point. So we spent a lot of weekends at the library, evenings. He would interview me. We'd do mock interviews. And I took each step of it and really thought through what I needed to do to be successful in that step. And at that point, I would be prepared. I would be the most prepared. And no matter what happened, I knew that I was trying my best and working my hardest, and eventually got to be one of the 10 people chosen. So preparation and work ethic are two of the most important things. How many people have taken accounting? I'm assuming everyone in the room. Not quite, okay. So there's a term in accounting called LIFO, last in, first out. FIFO, first in, first out. And I would encourage you to think of philo, and it's not the pastry. It's first in and last out. And when you start your first job, when you do an internship, you want to be the first one in, as long as it's safe. You're a woman, so you have to be safe in terms of the environment. And again, if it's safe, the last one to leave. So why do you do this? At least do it the first year, and that will set, you don't have to be overwhelmed that the rest of your life you're going to be the first one in, last one out. But at least the first year, if you do that, it could be very impactful to your career. So first, you're lucky to have a job. There are a lot of people who don't have jobs. I have always felt so fortunate to have a job and to work and to be able to contribute to society. And so to have that be something that you cherish and you really want to work at will help you be a productive member of the team. Second, the philo method demonstrates to your boss and colleagues that you have the drive and you want their firm to be successful. And then finally, given the opportunity to learn and contribute, when that senior person is there 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and they are scrambling and you happen to be there to help them, they will always remember that. And they're going to know that you're someone they can count on, someone that's going to be on their team, and they will take care of you and hopefully help your career and support you in your career. So remember philo. Mentors, another important area, are not assigned. They're really earned. I was at the women's conference on Friday, and one of the speakers talked about mentors provide not just advice, but they're the ones that support you and help move you up. And you should think through as you interact with people and identify people who you'd like to have as your mentor. I had a woman who was actually one of our investors who actively just kept trying to get me to help her, which I was happy to do, but she said, I want you to mentor me in my job process. I really want your help. Let me know what I can do to be successful. And it was her drive and initiative that made me want to help her and take a lot of time to help her. Number 4, network. You can't underestimate the importance of your network. I worked for one of the founders of the venture industry. His name's Alan Patricoff. If you're in my field, this man is a legend. And he said lunch at your desk is a wasted opportunity. You would think that a hard-driving boss would want you working at your desk and driving hard and not taking lunch. And the point was not to recharge ourselves and to get a bite to eat or take a break. The point was to get out there, expand our network, stay top of mind with people, find out what's going on outside the office, and really get to know people on a more broader basis and build relationships. There's a professor at Harvard, Boris Grossberg, who I've seen speak, and he's presented papers on women in leadership and has done different studies. And I would love to go into one of his studies because it's fascinating. I just don't have the time tonight. I can talk to you offline about it if you're interested. But one of the key determinants of successful senior women, it's their network and the portability of their network. Senior women are successful by branching out, by getting people to support them in many different parts of their life. And so this network is very important. When I started at Apex, my boss, Janet, put down in my development program that twice a week I had to go out and network. It was actually part of what I had to do, and I was thankful for it because it really did force me to get out and make sure I checked that box every week. If you think about it, in your 20s, if you start meeting 2 people a week or going out twice a week, although those people are junior, as I said, in their 30s they're going to be influencers, and in their 40s a lot of them will be leaders. And that networking that you do now and the cumulative effect can be very, very powerful. Some people are natural networks. I love meeting people. I love going to events like this and meeting new people. I always see as an opportunity. Some people are not as comfortable, but it's something that is just so important to your success, is to be able to have those tentacles in the field. Number 5, defeat is the stepping stone to victory. You will make mistakes. I have made plenty in my life. I think what's most important is not to lie to others, and most importantly, don't lie to yourself about the mistakes you made. Admit to them. It's important to learn from them, and really think through how they can help you be more successful. Then move on. You can't change the past, but you can really change how you approach things in the future. Number 6, appearance. Has anyone read Malcolm Gladwell's books? Handful of people. Blink. Are you familiar with the word? Okay, the book Blink. Yes, I love that book. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a very quick read. You could probably get through it on a Saturday. And the book's called Blink. And the premise of the book is within the first 2 seconds of meeting somebody, walking into a house, or watching 2 people interact, you're making a judgment in your mind. And I want you to think about when you shake someone's hand, what they're thinking about you. Just take a second, the next 5 people, when you shake their hand, think about that in 2 seconds they are making a determination. If you give them a strong handshake, if you smile, if you make eye contact, if you actually seem interested in meeting them versus just shaking their hand, looking down, think about that 2 seconds and someone is making a decision. They're looking at, everything's being processed by the mind. What are you wearing? How are you acting? How are you holding yourself? And really let that process. One of the great venture capitalists, one of the first women in the industry, Ginger Moore, who is someone I sought out to become one of my mentors, and she's been fantastic in my life, said, dress the way you want to get paid. And it's not to say that you have to go out and buy Armani or other designers, but if you want to be paid well, her point was to dress well. And I'll share an experience that wasn't positive for me at Apex. This woman, Janet, who was the partner I worked for and my mentor at the firm moved to Casual Friday. It was actually a very big deal because Silicon Valley was casual, but I worked for a New York and London-based firm where casual was not even an option. And so casual started, Friday started, and we had all these criteria that we had to, no jeans, no sandals. And one Friday, my boss, Janet, pulls me aside and says, Adele, you're in a Saturday outfit. And I was wearing, I can remember that, I was in khakis, a sweater, and I had gone out and bought a very high-end, but fleece, a Fastenal fleece from Nordstrom. Spent a lot of money on it. And I knew, and I got the fleece because I'd seen another partner wearing that fleece, a similar fleece. But it didn't matter because Janet felt like I didn't look professional enough at work. So it didn't matter what the rules were, what the policies were at the firm. All that mattered was that Janet was honest enough with me to say, raise your game, look a little bit more professional even on Fridays. And I thought it was great that she took the time to say something. I'm going to fast forward a few years, and now I'm in New York, right, very professional environment, and I'm in my late 30s, the oldest woman in the office at that point, professional woman, investment professional at the time. And a couple of the younger female partners were teasing me about the fact that I would wear these silk blouses to work and how I looked so much older than my age, but it was my intention. My intention was to look as professional as possible. I was co-head of the U.S. healthcare team, and so I was not going out on a date when I went to work every day. I was going there to be professional and to get my job done. So think through that as you're thinking through your interviews and just as you work. Women are kept to a higher standard, and that's number 7. Life is not fair. So I'm just going to say it right now. I was, one of my friends, Liz, here, we were at the women's conference on Friday, as I mentioned, and Madeleine Albright had a fantastic quote, and her quote was, there's plenty of room in the world for a mediocre man, but there isn't room for mediocre women. Think about that. There is no room for mediocre women. And I can tell you it's true. If I think about the senior women that I meet, I can almost guarantee that that person is exceptional. Not just good, but exceptional. There are so many barriers along the way and so many screening mechanisms along the way. There was another quote there, Hillary Clinton said it, but Oprah has said it, and I've heard it many times. Don't create your own glass ceiling. There may be a ceiling there that you have to break through, but don't do it to yourself. Your mindset and how you perceive things is so important to your ability to achieve success. So let's get to number 8, which is my favorite. Okay, this is my absolute favorite, so hold on. It's so basic. It's be a good person. That's it. People talk about making your parents proud. Make yourself proud. You're the only one that knows whether you should have worked harder, been kinder, done something more for someone when they needed it. And you've been given probably more than 99% of people in this world. You've been given your health, your intellect, and education, and go out of your way to help people. Be thankful, contribute to society in a meaningful way. And women before me, like Ginger Moore, Janet Eflin, all these great women I had the opportunity to work with and who have mentored me, blazed the trail for me. My generation was able to have children and have different things in life. A lot of them had to sacrifice and not have children or just have one child because they couldn't take the time off, they couldn't balance it all. Women need to work together and not alone. Don't forget the people coming behind you. Don't forget the people next to you. Don't forget all of those women who are supporting you. It takes, when I say it takes, well, Hillary Clinton says it takes a village. It takes a village. The amount of people that support me every day in different ways is incredible. And just remember and appreciate and really thank them, and go do it. Seize it. It's your time, and you're at an incredible point. You're in America. It's the greatest country in the world as far as I'm concerned. And so go make it happen. That's it. So questions? Does anyone have any questions? Okay. About the Blink book, did you want to discuss that with me a little bit? No, just. Do you have a question?
Well, maybe you could talk about during like this time of your life when you were in our shoes, what was sort of the everyday motivation that you had and to get to where you are today?
Yeah, we always had what we needed growing up. We didn't have everything. And I was very aware, and I saw what was out there in the world, and I just wanted to achieve a lot. We grew up in Northeast Philadelphia. I went to Lincoln High School, and my sister, brother, and I have all worked really hard and done well with our careers, and we're not sure what our parents did to create this insatiable drive that we all have. I just always really wanted to work. That sounds funny. Business school, I wanted to learn. In college, my motivation was to get a degree, to get a job. But it wasn't until I was more mature and went back to business school that I really embraced the learning more and realizing how important that was to my success. So, yes?
As an undergrad student, did you know that you wanted to go to grad school?
I had thought about it. It wasn't definite in my mind, but it certainly was something I was thinking about, even in college. Yes. I thought that I needed it. And what's interesting about my industry is most of the people have graduate degrees. I can't think of a woman that doesn't have a graduate degree. Maybe some of the men don't, and I'm trying to think of who they may be, but virtually all the women have graduate degrees, whether it's a PhD, doctorate, or master's. Yeah. Yes, in the back.
Have you faced any major adversities being a woman in business?
It can come from, is this being videotaped? Who's one? It is, okay. Cut. Look, there are things that happen that are very uncomfortable at times, and it can come from men or from women. When my boss at Apex, I was the first female investment professional to have a child, or to want to have a child. And so I had to come up with a maternity policy. I had to kind of come up with things. Not that a maternity policy meant that you worked from home. You just weren't in the office when you were working on things. You didn't actually get a lot of time off. But you just look, I have a very thick skin. I let things roll off my back. I was a tomboy. I'm fine being in a room constantly with men. It's just, there are things that you'll face, and you just have to be thick-skinned and focus on what you want in the end. Yeah, I thought I saw someone up here. Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about being a venture capitalist, and maybe what is your favorite thing about being a venture capitalist, and maybe the toughest thing as well?
Yeah. The greatest thing is I love the people that I get to interact with. They are the best, brightest, most driven people in the world. Their creativity level, it is an absolute privilege to get to work with the people I have the opportunity to work with, particularly the entrepreneurs that put it on the line every day, that take those risks. To watch, and I do healthcare, which has such benefits to society. Not only, ultimately our goal is financial, but to have the side benefit of developing medicines and things for people and cures or diagnostics is great. I would say the toughest thing is you're not always successful. It's a risky business, and sometimes you don't return capital in a deal, and that's hard. It's very hard, and you fight. I fight. I'm very tenacious. I fight tooth and nail, and sometimes you're able to turn it around, and sometimes you're not. The challenge as an investor is you're not the person in the seat, right? You're the advisor on the board. You're trying to provide advice and guidance. You're giving them pattern recognition. Been doing this 16 years. I've seen this happen before. Really stop. Think about it this way. So I would say that's the contrasting view. Yeah. Yes?
You said the most important thing you look for in a candidate when you're interviewing is their drive. Is there anything else that you think is super important when you're interviewing someone?
Yeah, I meet with, as I said, these exceptional people all the time. And when I meet with people, I ask them advice, and I keep a list on my BlackBerry. I still have a BlackBerry. I don't want to give it up. Go Brim. So the CFO of Wyeth, the large pharmaceutical company, said when he interviews people, he looks for the most important thing is energy. And it's true. He looks at how quickly people walk, how excited they are when they interact with him, and it's something very subtle, and it's probably in that blink moment, but it's that energy level, the enthusiasm, and somebody really wanting to contribute to a team. Yes?
So in venture capital, you invest in entrepreneurs. So what do you look for in entrepreneurs, and how do you determine if you want to invest in them?
Yeah, so when I joined Quaker, we started something called the Exceptionally Experienced Executive List, which is also known as the Hot List. And we keep a hot list of executives. And these are people that have done things before, who have great experience. They've been successful. They're not all just CEOs. They're all levels of executives. And so the most important thing I look for is the management team, because you can have a great concept, a great technology, but if you don't have someone that can execute on it and do it effectively, you're not going to be successful. Yes?
What, if any, have been the challenges that you faced with balancing your work life and personal life?
Yeah. So my sister gave me great advice, and it's full-time childcare. So when I say it takes a village, my mother lives in our guest cottage, 20 feet from our house, right? So she's there all the time to help. My husband is, I don't think there could be a more supportive man in the world. I was thinking about it. I have 2 very healthy children. I've had a couple of friends where their sons have had autism, and they've had to drop out to prioritize that. The fact that I have healthy children is probably one of the most important things, that I'm able to do things. And I have a great assistant at work. I have great friends that do things for me when I'm in a jam. Thank you, Sue. And I try to do things for other people as well. You have to know to say no. Anytime I'm doing something that is not for my family or for work is time away from my family and work. And so I am involved with 2 free nonprofit boards, but I could be doing things all the time that take me away from those things. And so I think focus on what's really important is also critical to being successful. Yeah. I'm getting the hook, I think. Okay. Thank you.